Hello, I'm Rex Childhouse, and because things on the internet seem to lose their date references fairly easy, today is Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. On Friday, June 2nd, 2023, during our first big vacation since 1985, when we, in 2023, we drove from San Diego County to Vancouver, British Columbia, took a Disney Wonder Cruise into Alaska, and then meandered our way back home. On Friday, June 2nd, 2023, we did the Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle, and it was an enjoyable day. Unfortunately, for some reason, my camera seemed to end up in the wrong mode or something, and a number of our photos didn't come out really clear. So I'm going to show you some of the signage, and we don't have some of the animals for it. And some of the animals, because of the temperature of the day, whatever, because they're nocturnal animals or dusk and dawn animals, were simply not out. It was a good day. Well, we spent a lot of time there. I took over 400 photos. I like taking photos and remembering things. So let's get on with the tour. This is the entrance to the Woodland Park Zoo. Really nice entry area. When we walked in, there was a pretty good map to look at and pretty detailed. They did have a handout map, which was nice. The signage in the zoo I thought was really good. I did have some issues with it, and you'll see them later on. For example, here, this is excellent. They're not only trying to show you the animals, they're trying to educate you about the animals. This is the types of issues I had with the signage. Quite a few of them were covered up in shades, covered by branches, by leaves, in shades, positioned wrong, restricted in their access. However, this is one of the really nice presentations. Unfortunately, my shadow gets in the way. How do zebras sleep? How do lions sleep? How do giraffes sleep? And they gave you the answers. Unfortunately, due to geometry and physics, my hand ends up in the photo. I tried to take this without my hands in the photo, and due to the angles, the picture turned out to be really bad. So since we were looking at the Lion King, here's a couple of photos of the lions they had at the zoo. Now, one of the things is, if I go to a zoo, and the animals are moving, I'd like to take videos of the animals moving. Unfortunately, due to the time of day, the heat, the sunlight, whatever else, most animals are actually active in civil twilight, morning and evening. It was midday, so to speak, so the animals were sitting down, and if the animal's just sitting there, having 30-40 seconds of video of an animal sitting is just as good as a still photographer. Another example of the fantastic signage at the zoo, the African savanna, and they talked about the African savanna, and they had some animals together, similar to what San Diego Zoo Safari Park does. Really good signage on the issue there. Explained how it was set up, why it looked like it did. Thought that was really cool. Showed you some photos of Africa, and I've been to Africa a couple of times, into Nairobi, into Mombasa, Kenya. This is an example of signage I really liked. I like learning things. It's about the ostrich. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of an ostrich. It either didn't come out or I didn't take it. Meet the hippos. They explain where their hippos are, what they do. They're hippos because of the heat of the day. We're just laying down. One of my photo failures was the giraffes. They had some really nice signage for the giraffe. What's this yard for? They're telling you it's for the giraffe. They identify their giraffes so you know them by name. Most of the keepers in the zoos that we've been to know the names of the animals they're dealing with, particularly the major animals. Really nice exhibit about the brown bear, and we're in bear country. We're in Washington State, and they compare the brown and the black bear.
which was a really nice exhibit. And the bear was a little bit active, so I'll let you watch him.
They're old enough to be Boy Scouts.
Yeah, they're not cubs anymore, but they're still. Remember, one of them's name was Juniper, and I don't remember the other one's name. Do you remember? Yeah.
Good signage and presentation of the warthog. The warthogs were out. They weren't doing a lot. They were just kind of standing there munching on whatever was on the ground, but it was fun. Moved over to another exhibit where a couple of animals were on display at the same time. Obviously zebras in the upper left corner and gazelle over in the right corner from the Savannah Plains, so to speak, which is a really nice presentation. And gorillas. Do not ask me why. I just kind of enjoy watching gorillas. They explained, as with most zoos and their major animals, the animals all have names. They identify with those names, and a lot of fun. He was just kind of sitting there, just kind of taking the day in. So not a whole lot to watch, not a whole lot to do. Water is life on the savanna. Areas of Africa are very seasonal, and when there's water you take advantage of it, and the rivers flow or the rivers become dry, and they're talking about that, which was kind of cool. Diversity, and they had these two beetles, the flamboyant flower beetle and the garden fruit chafer, and they were active. I just videoed them. Don't laugh too much.
Oh, those are cool. Yeah. They look like bugs.
I loved that movie.
I watched it at school.
Did you? Was it fun?
Oh, do you see that stick bug? There's one right there too. No, there's three.
A fairly large presentation on the Assam Rhino Reserve, which is for Asian Indian rhinos. Really nice. The rhinos were just sitting in their water, just taking it nice and easy on such a bright day. The Asian brown tortoise, he was in a little hut. These caught my attention because of their name, and I looked at Siam Angs, but it's Siam Mangs, I think is how it's pronounced. They kind of look like monkeys. They are from Southeast Asia, so I assume the Siam portion of their name is actually based on the original territory known today as Siam. And I go back to Anna and the King. They were sitting in their treetops and not doing a whole lot. There were a couple of snakes. The reticulated python was laying in his cage. I'm going to say he was probably 12 feet long. Nice size. Not a guy I want to play with. Orangutans, like apes, normally find them fairly active in the zoos. And these guys were just kind of sitting around, not doing a whole lot, so took a photo and kind of moved on. The Stellar Sea Eagle, I was reading this. This is in the coastal area of the Northwest Pacific. Had never seen or heard this guy before. Beautiful bird, and he was just sitting there for a fantastic pose. So I took his photo. There were a number of cranes on exhibit, and they were absolutely beautiful, and I love it when animals cooperate with having their photos taken. Because of Navy cruises, I've been to Australia twice, Perth, Australia, Western Australia, and one of the signs on the pier when we were getting off the Liberty boats was, "Do not approach kangaroos. They will defend themselves." And this display shows the difference between the wallaby, the wallaroo, and the kangaroo, and kind of interesting. It's a name you just giggle at, a kookaburra. And he was sitting up there in a really nice position for a photo, so I took it. The masked lapwing. Again, a bird that said, "Hey, you got your camera? I've got a pose." The common emu, and there's a difference between emus and ostriches, and he said, "I'm here. Take my photo. You paid admission." The Taveta golden weaver. I love it when birds do this, and I love it when zoos give me the answers. There were some beautiful little nests that they had built. I didn't get a good photo of them. They weren't in a good spot. They were kind of like antisocial, but he was posing for a really nice photo. Now we step over to living in the Northwest and the Northwest Trail, and we're talking about bears and totem poles. Giggled and laughed. The gray wolf, really nice signage. There was no gray wolf out in the display. He was inside somewhere. The brown bear was off on his little side, and you saw some photos of him earlier. And then the North American river otter was pretty active, so I'm going to let you watch him. And to amuse the kids and to help the parents get a photo of something, they had statues of the river otter that kids could stand by and get their photos taken, which was cool. There was several elk out there. They were just munching on the grass. They weren't walking around. They weren't doing anything. You couldn't see them move, so unfortunately a still photo. Humboldt penguins, the tip of South America. And one of the fun things in this display, which was a really nice display, and these guys are out there, was this photo. Saw this female fox on Monday after doing the census. We may need to do some wall repairs. Marco. Unfortunately, it's not dated, so I assume it's been there for quite a while. Chilean flamingos. Who doesn't love watching flamingos? And flamingos, if you don't know it, get their pink coloring because of their diet, which is shrimp. These guys were just, quote-unquote, standing around. Red-legged Siriema, however you want to pronounce it. I don't know. He was sitting there saying, "Take my picture," so I did. Now, if you are watching the movies, lemurs have been a big Disney theme. They're active, they're fun, they're in a fair amount of zoos. I've been off Madagascar, have not been to Madagascar, but our battle group cruised down towards Madagascar, and I'm going to let you watch these guys.
That one's good. All the other ones went up. Oh. Hold on. You know who this is?
There were several general education displays. This one here that I just happened to focus on was about wetlands, and this guy here was a freeloader. He wasn't in a cage, he was out there going around. This guy was another freeloader. I'm going to let you watch him. As we were walking around the zoo, we found this farm area with this miniature Jersey steer. He was good sized. And this miniature donkey, which was kind of small, I will agree with that. A domestic rabbit was just sitting there, just saying, "Take my picture." This pig, the pig was, "Hey, I'm getting a suntan, leave me alone." The kinder goat was there, just that they'd just been fed, so they were having lunch or dinner. One of the areas that we walked into, found whatever on the map, which I thought was really cool, was this carousel. And they have a history. They recorded the history of their carousel. And reading the history, I thought it was kind of interesting because this was made by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company. I didn't know toboggan companies made carousels, but they did. And they talk about where its history, how it ended up in the zoo, and the kids were riding it, and the kids were just having a whole lot of fun. Near the entrance to the zoo was this worm for the kids to climb on, get their photos taken with, whatever else. Kind of giggled and laughed, not sure where or what it was modeled after. There was no signage. So that was our day, and we spent the day at the Woodland Park Zoo. We enjoyed it. It was fun. I took over 400 pictures. Unfortunately, about 100 of them did not come out. As I said, some of the animals, because they're twilight, morning twilight, evening twilight type hunters, when the sun was out, they were off on the side, so they weren't active or they weren't visible. But you have to respect how the animals live. I love doing zoos that are done well, and this zoo was done very, very well. I enjoyed it.